Look at this, this too, and this, look at this, and this, look at this, and this, look at this, and this too, look at that, look at this, and look at this too. I think you guys get the idea. And how many of you are going to say trading crypto is hard? Making money in crypto is hard? Well, of course, all of you say that because you're all talentless. But lucky for you, I think trading is easy, so easy. In fact, I could teach a monkey to do it. I could teach a monkey to do these things that I'm about to teach you. But enough with the insults, because one thing I like more than insulting random people on the internet is seeking their validation, ironically, by being the most right, most accurate crypto trader, crypto guru on YouTube. And if you don't believe present me, take the past me's advice. Check out these clips from October 1st, the start of the quarter. Quarter bullish, and now we will look for a push to those highs of 125, or we'll just go look for those lows that we've been looking for all of the last quarter at 107. Right, Ethereum, the quarterly close way above support here, and it is possible that during the next few months we retrace down to this 3,500 price level to then test that support. Daily time frame, we did call out the rejection of this 4-hour order block and retracement down into the support. So again, we'll just look for this low to break here for the test of this higher time frame support, $3 resistance over the next month. If we end up getting rejected though, look for the lows of 269 to break though, to then go test that 250 support. And check out this clip from Friday's analysis, hours before the tariff news and the crypto collapse. Starting off the day, guys, with Bitcoin here, let me just sip some espresso. These candle closes and wicks are where price went. So price went up here, we got rejected and closed below the highs. Concepts like these, waiting for the closes above highs for your direction, so you don't get faked out. How many people are going to buy all-time highs here and then price immediately reverses and they never go into profit? Well, this is why they're impatient. They're not waiting for closes. We'll look for the push down to higher time frame support, for the retracement back down into the support, back down into the structure. All right, guys, Ethereum, we are just still getting rejected at those highs, so we're looking for a break of these lows of 3,800. This change of character, we never close above those highs, so now we are just looking for a push to those lows. And we will look for the test of that higher time frame support, a test of the structure again, to then go break past highs. Again, we're not bullish right now, again, until we close above this high of 4,700. XRP, unfortunately, guys, we talked about this, the retest of this support. Unfortunately, we closed below yesterday, so this 283 zone will become resistance again. We'll look for the test of this line here, of this resistance at 283, and then the push to break these lows. So we are still, unfortunately, downtrending for XRP, and we'll just look for the break of that 270 low. There's nowhere for me to draw previous resistance at. And so we will just look for a retracement down into some sort of structure to then look for continuation to new all-time highs. But if we continue to just get rejected out of this structure that broke lows, push price down into higher time frame support, if we continue to respect this and we close bearish on the day below these lows of $21, we'll look for the lows to break here and the test of this higher time frame support. So enough tooting my own horn today, guys, because we have a ton to get into, a ton of analysis. Not only are we going to be going over these support levels, we're going to be jumping down onto the lower time frames to find our direction. Are we going to shoot up to highs? Is this going to just be the biggest buy the dip opportunity in crypto? Or is this going to be a continued correction, and will we see price continue back down to bounce off these supports? We're going to get into all of that and more in today's episode. So stick around, and if you made it this far, I know it's hard for some of you goldfish to watch more than 2 minutes. But again, if you're clicking away and you're holding crypto, you are just an idiot, because we are going to go over Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, as well as 15 plus altcoins. In fact, I'll just show the list here. So if you hold any of these and you're clicking away after seeing analysis like that, and again, I swear to God, I haven't moved any of these lines. These lines, you could check all the prior reports. I don't move them. I trade actively these support and resistance lines. So you're lucky that I'm even giving away lines like this, support and resistance zones like this. Because again, Ethereum, I should be gatekeeping this. So again, if you're clicking away, you. And let's get right into the technical analysis. All right, guys, looking at the market cap, we could see the market cap is below $4 trillion again. And we'd like to see price break back above that and close above 4 trillion for the quarter. CMC 20 is up 1%. Fear and greed sitting pretty low in the 40s. Altcoin season slipping to the Bitcoin dominance here. Bitcoin dominance taking over here as the alts bled over the weekend. Badly, obviously, and the average crypto RSI is sitting a little oversold. Who could have guessed? Let's get right into the technical analysis. And because it is Monday, it is the close of last week's candle, the open of this week's candle. So we're going to start on the weekly, jump down onto the daily time frame. and perhaps the lower timeframes on some of these pairs. And it is also Meme Coin Monday, so we're going to cover the top 3 meme coins as well. So this is going to be a long episode. Let's get right into it. As we could see, looking at Bitcoin here, we did go tag those equal lows and tag those lows of 107 that we called out all month. So now that price is reacting from the support again, we will just look for strength to break these 126 highs. But if we end up breaking these lows of about 100,000, we will look for the higher time frame support. And since we are so high here, there could be a bigger retracement. We have breaks of structure here. Now that we're actually using this as support, we're creating liquidity here. And if the worst case scenario happens for the crypto market, I would expect Bitcoin to come back down, fill some imbalance, tap this support, tap this order block that broke structure here. And if that one fails, then obviously we will look for this higher time frame at around 60,000. Let's jump onto the daily. As we can see on the daily, like we've discussed, price failed to break new all-time highs, swept, and then we did go get those 107 lows that we've been calling out. And now in the next few days, or over the next few days, we'd like to see price close strong above all this imbalance of about 119 and then go break and close above those highs of 126. Again, we need the close to confirm that we're bullish. If we end up though breaking these lows of 106 now in the support that just broke this structure here at highs, if we end up closing below that low of 106, we'll then look for the break of this order block and the test of that higher time frame support down here at about $90,000. Ethereum, just like we said, testing that support at 3,500, going exactly to our support and resistance line here. Our resistance flip support at 3,517. Perfect tap in. We called the retracement perfectly. And again, obviously now on this weekly candle, we're looking for the close above these equal highs of 4,500 to then go push to new all-time highs. If we end up closing bearish though, obviously we'll just look for the continued test of this support of 3,500. Jumping down onto the daily timeframes here, I've released a lot of shorts about it, a lot of videos about it. We broke structure at this resistance, flipped it support. We had early buyers right here that broke this high. We broke this high, early buyers come in, we swept them out. Price taps into this higher time frame support. We come up, we test highs, but because of this internal break of structure to the downside, we sweep these highs out as well and then go test this higher time frame support at 3,500. So now we are again just looking for strength. We need to break these highs of about 4,700 to then go push to those $5,000 highs, If we close bearish though below these lows of 3,700 and below the support of 3,500, we'll just look for the break and retest down to higher time frame support. XRP, we could see on the week, huge bearish candle closing on the week, but still respecting that 250 support. We did say obviously on Friday we're looking for the retest of that 283 zone. We retested it to the point and then we pushed down. It is a good thing that we closed bullish above this 250 support, but over the next week we are going to have to see a bullish close and then perhaps in the next 2 weeks a close above this $3 high, or it could happen very fast, but we are just looking for a close above this $3 high. Jumping down onto the daily time frame, we could see that perfect retest on that daily wick and then the push down to test higher time frame supports here. And again, over the next few days, we want to see price obviously push back above this resistance. That would be a very bullish sign, and do really need to see the break above this $3.10 zone to then go push to new all-time highs. If we end up getting rejected though, because now this is obviously resistance, if we get rejected at this 284 zone again, we will just look for price to trade in between these support and resistances. If we close today bearish though below this 250 support, it will become resistance and we'll just look to go test the bottom of this wick and fill some of this wick in. But again, it would be great to see XRP obviously close above that resistance to then go run to highs. Starting off the altcoins, we could see Binance Coin, huge wick down to sweep out that support, sweep out that order block. And because we are at all-time highs, and I had no prior resistance. We did just perfectly call out a retracement back down into that support, and then an immediate break of those highs, which is incredible. Binance Coin is the only coin that has already broken its highs from its retracement. Let's jump down on the daily time frame. As you guys can see, we tested that support we marked out, that structure that broke this high. We tested it, closed above that support, and then immediately went for those all-time highs. Very strong for Binance Coin. And over the next few days, obviously, guys, we will need a close above these highs of about 1372 to then go push to new all-time highs. If we continue to get rejected, we'll just look for the test of this higher time frame support again. Solana, guys, we did call for the retest of this 187 support. We are testing support. We did close the week above support. That's a good sign. If we close the week below support, obviously it will become resistance, and we'll look for the test of higher time frame support. But if we could end up closing this week bullish, we'll look for the break of these highs of 283 and then the eventual test of this resistance at 260. Jumping down onto the daily time frames, you could see how we got rejected out of that lower time frame resistance that we were talking about, and we did just go retest that 187 zone, just like we said. So over the next few days, we want to see candles continue to close above this support and price to then go test this 260 resistance. Obviously, guys, if we close below, you guys know the drill. Cardano here, huge close below resistance, as we could see. And now we will just look for the retest of that 77-cent zone for then a push down to this higher time frame resistance or support, excuse me. As we could see on the daily time frames, price perfectly rejected out of that order block that we were talking about that broke these lows and had made price close below this structure. So we were just looking for price to get rejected out of there and break these lows, just like we said. And now obviously we're trading below that support, so we'll just look for the retest. If we close above this resistance now, excuse me, it will hopefully flip support, and we could look for the break and retest to then go get these highs. Chainlink obviously breaking above resistance, tapping into higher time frame resistance and then testing this higher time frame support. We did close this weekly candle above support. So again, guys, we'll just look for the continued test of the support over the next few weeks. And if we continue to close bullish above support, we'll just look for the push to this resistance. And if we close obviously bearish below this resistance or below the support, excuse me, it will turn resistance and we'll look for the push down to higher time frame resistance. Or support, excuse me, geez. On the daily chart, we were just saying how we got rejected from resistance, broke structure, and then we would retest and see how price reacts from this resistance. We got rejected out of the resistance, just like we said, and we said we would like to see a retest of that $17 zone. Again, guys, we just want to continue to close bullish on the day or just continue to retest this support. And now obviously we need to break these highs of $23 to then go test this higher time frame resistance. Because of this break of structure here, just look for resistance possibly at $21 at this structure. But again, guys, super important we break these highs for then a continuation of this uptrend. Stellar Lumens, we could see that support flipped resistance, and we did just call for the test of that resistance and the push to higher time frame support. As you guys could see, we closed a pretty bearish weekly order or candle here, but we did respect that higher time frame support at 28 cents. So we will just look for price to push past these highs of 41 cents, and then we could continue to higher time frame resistance. But because we are trading below now this resistance, we'll just look for the test of that resistance again, or we'll just look for price to continue trading bearish and test this support again. On the daily time frame here, we could obviously see this break of structure, the break of these lows that tried to push price past these highs. We got rejected and then we broke structure. So we are just obviously trading into the order blocks here, into this higher time frame resistance. And again, just look for the retest of that resistance to then go push down the higher time frame support, or the break above this resistance to flip support, and we'll look for our break and retest. Huge close for Avalanche, obviously pretty bearish here, but we did respect that higher time frame support of $21. And now we will look for price to continue closing bullish to then go break past these highs, or we'll look for price to close below that $21 support to flip a resistance and then a push to lows. On the higher time frames here, we can see a break of structure and price went down and swept and tested the support. Again, just look for price to continue closing above this support and then look for a break of these highs. Hedra support, flipped resistance, and then we got the retest of that resistance Friday, just like we talked about. And then obviously a huge weekly close bearish, but we did test support and we did close above support. So again, over the next few weeks, it's super important that we get the close back above that resistance at 23 cents for our break and retest, or we'll just look for the test of this higher time frame resistance now to get the continuation to higher time frame support again, and possibly fill some of these wicks. Again, every pair that I'm talking about has a pretty big wick on these weekly candles and daily candles, you know, and it's totally possible we could retrace and fill some of that wick and then come back up. And again, guys, you could see just how accurate this break and retest was. We were calling for this break and retest all week, all month. I mean, it was just to the point. You could go watch Friday's analysis. We are talking about how this is a valid break of structure and we'll just look for the retest. And that's exactly what happened. And now over the next few days, we'll just look for price to come up into these highs, into this resistance, possibly get rejected, or we could close back above this 23-cent resistance for our break and retest. And again, we did create a lot of liquidity here now at these highs with this price just accumulating here, creating lots of liquidity. Litecoin, after a lot of movement and a failure to break those highs, we could see how the weekly candle did close below that resistance. So we will just look for a retest of that 103.64 resistance and then price to go push down to higher time frame support. On the day, same thing. Obviously, we have this break of structure, this break of support. So now it just flips resistance. We could possibly come up and test this order block or just look for the test of this resistance. If we end up closing above this resistance, look for the break and retest and the flip support. But again, we're definitely going to have to break these highs of 136 now to confirm a bullish trend. Polkadot on the week, you could see how we closed below this resistance and we got rejected out of that resistance we've been talking about all month. And now obviously we need a close above those highs of about 490 to then go test that higher time frame resistance. Uniswap on the week here, you could see closing right at that support line. So we will just look for strength. We want to close above these highs of $8.50 to then go push to higher time frame resistance. And if we close obviously below the support of 6.6, 660 here, we'll look for the push to lows, obviously. ONDO Finance, finally, we talked about it for a month, finally closing below those lows of 85 cents and testing that higher time frame support at 66 cents. So now we will just look for price to continue closing bullish above the support, perhaps test it one more time. And then we would look for the push back up to that resistance. And it would obviously be great to close above that dollar resistance to then flip its support and get our break of retest. But again, it would be great, or it would be necessary to close above these highs of 117 to confirm that we are bullish again. Jumping down onto the daily time frames, we can just see this break of structure here. And I'd expect price to come back up and test this order block. If we could break above this order block, we'll just look for the break and retest of this dollar zone. Polygon, pretty bearish close, but we did sweep lows. So we will just look for the retest of that 30-cent resistance. And if we could close above that 30-cent resistance, we'll look for the break and retest to then go test higher time frame resistance. Flare here, unfortunately guys, I did not have this line here for you guys last video. I do apologize for that. I had it only on my personal charts, so excuse me. We added this line here. It did hit in perfect, and I swear I had that line there forever, but that's where I got the line from my personal charts. And as you guys can see, it's really not that hard to get this support and resistance line. Just look for the most tap-ins. So yes, we did break structure and close bearish for flare, but we did tap into that higher time frame support here at 0.17. So we will just look for the break of these highs now of about 2 cents. And jumping down on the daily time frame here, we could see how there will be resistance at this order block that broke structure. So we are just looking for a retest of that order block that broke structure or a close above, but I would expect it to retest and then perhaps we could test support again for then our push to highs. Algorand here, unfortunately, these weekly candles testing this support flipped resistance, and we did close bearish under resistance here. So we do want to look for the retest of that 22-cent resistance and then the close above those 23-cent highs for then our break and retest. If we continue to close bearish and below this resistance, we'll just look for price to continue to fill some wick, fill some imbalance, and test this higher time frame support again. But you guys could see how we said we're looking for, we have this break and we're looking for the retest of that line and then go test higher time frame support. Jumping down onto the daily chart, we could see that's exactly what happened here. We said that we had support, we flipped support, made it resistance, we broke structure, and then we were just looking for the retest of that support and now, or that resistance, excuse me, and now that resistance, the high of that resistance becomes our new change of character. So that's why we need to close above that 23-cent high for then the break and retest. Quant obviously closing bearish like every other coin, but we did respect these equal lows, sweeping them out, closing above these equal lows. So now if we could go close above this high of 110, we'll definitely go look for the test of this higher time frame resistance and possibly a push to highs. If we continue bearish though, or closing in, or below these lows, excuse me, we'll look for the test of this higher time frame support here at $79. And on the day, you could see how price swept these lows. It could be a break of structure. We'll see how price reacts to this structure here, to this resistance. And obviously, if we close above it, like I said, the highs of 110, we'll look for the test of this higher time frame resistance. If we end up closing the next few days bearish though, just look for the test of this higher time frame support. IOTA closing the week bearish, but we did respect these lows. So if we continue to wick and close bullish and respect these lows, we'll just look for the break of these highs of 20 cents to then go push to this higher time frame resistance. If we continue to close bearish though and close in or below this order block at 11 cents, we'll look for the push down to lower prices. And on the day, you could see how we swept, and we will just look for the break above those 20-cent highs to then go push to that resistance. XDC finally getting the test of that 6-cent support. Unfortunately, we did close below it, but we did respect these lows, sweeping these lows. So if we could just come back up and close above the 6-cent resistance, it will become support, and we could look for the flip and retest to that 10-cent zone. On the daily chart here, you could see we left in balance. We need to come up, retest that resistance, close above on the daily chart, and then look for our break and retest to that 10-cent zone. All right, guys, Meme Coin Monday. We're going to do analysis on DOGE, SHIBA, and PEPE. Let's get right into the weekly chart here. We came up, we filled that imbalance, tested that resistance, and now we did just go down and test that higher time frame support. As you can see, we did close above that higher time frame support as well as these equal lows. That's a good sign. So if we continue to close bullish, let's just look for a break of these 26-cent highs to then go test this higher time frame resistance. And if we close bearish under this resistance of 20 cents or under the support of 20 cents, excuse me, it will flip resistance and we'll just look for the push to lows. On the daily time frame, you could see how we did break structure to the upside. Price and buyers tried to get a buy and a push past highs. We got rejected and we did sweep out those early buyers in that support. And you could see how we did just perfectly come back down to that order block here that broke the structure. So we are just looking for price to continue closing above this support, and we'll look for the test of that support to then go push to the higher time frame resistances. If we close bearish though, below this 20-cent resistance and below these lows of 18 cents, we'll just look for the test of this higher time frame support down here. Shiba Inu, we did break and close below that support and resistance on the week. And you could see how now we are just retesting that zone now. So we'll look for a continued push to fill this wick or continue to lows, or if we close bullish on a few daily candles or over this week, we'll look for the break and retest of this zone, but we need to push past these highs here to then go see bullish continuation. On the daily time frame, we see a break of structure, a break of that support here. We swept out lows, and now again, we're either going to retest this support and resistance flip, retest this order block, and push price back down, or we're going to close above this resistance, flip it support, and then we would like to see a close above this order block here to then go continue to higher time frame resistance. And finally, PEPE here, we did get rejected at resistance, and we said price would just go retest support. We unfortunately did close the week below that support, so it is flipped resistance, and we will just look for the retest and then the push to fill some of this wick or go back down to lows. If we could close bullish, obviously above this resistance, it will flip support again, and we'll look for the support to then go test that higher time frame resistance. And on the daily time frame, we could see resistance flip support, and then that support flipped resistance as well. The only good thing is we did, and much like the other pair, sweep this low. And if we could just break back above this high here for the break and retest, we could confirm a bullish trend again. But again, we are trading below resistance, so just look for bearish continuation. Well, guys, that concludes Monday's episode of the Crypto Charts Daily Report. We do this in-depth technical analysis Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you never miss a market movement. And we have been accurate down to the percent here, as you can see. So drop a like and consider sharing with your friends that suck at trading crypto. And if you want to get better at trading support and resistance, trading crypto, follow these reports every single day. All right, guys, I'll see you Wednesday for Wednesday's episode. Peace out.